Well, I don't have to know you personally to know that you and I have something very specific in common, and that's that we're human. And as humans, we experience a variety of things all throughout our lives, and I've come to think of these as seasons. Seasons of joy, seasons of grief, seasons of waiting, or seasons of abundance, everything in between. So we're gonna spend a little time contemplating seasons, specifically what season you might be in and how to navigate it. Scripture speaks very specifically about seasons in Ecclesiastes chapter 3, and this book of the Bible is historically believed to be written by Solomon, though in most study Bibles, its author is simply designated as the preacher. So let's see what the preacher has to say in Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 1. It says, "There's a time for everything and a season for every activity under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to scatter stones and a time to gather them, a time to embrace and a time to refrain, a time to search and a time to give up, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to mend, a time to be silent and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. What does the worker gain from his toil? I've seen the burden God has laid on men. He has made everything beautiful in its time." So anytime I come upon this list in Ecclesiastes 3, I instinctually kind of draw a line down the center of my paper and separate everything into two columns, good and bad. I don't comprehend how dying, plucking up, killing, mourning, weeping, losing, and so on can be considered anything but bad. So they go squarely to the right side, while everything I've deemed good goes to the left. Good and bad makes sense to me. Positive and negative do too. All that's good and positive comes from God, and all that's bad and negative comes from Satan, right? This is a worldview I can get next to. But there's a hiccup. This collection of verses says something that challenges my way of filtering my life. At the end of the list are 8 words that mess with me, and frankly, they just get in my face a little bit. He has made everything beautiful in its time. No, that doesn't mean everything, right? Yeah, everything. This sentence provides the underpinning for our whole journey. To everything there is a season, and he's made everything beautiful in its time. If you're wondering whether the word beautiful actually means beautiful, well, yeah, it does. In Hebrew, the word used in Ecclesiastes 3:11 means beautiful exactly as you and I understand it. This scripture is asserting confidently that no matter what happens in our lives, God, as creator, has made everything beautiful, and he's made it that way in its time. But here's the catch. For years, and I mean years, I've read Ecclesiastes 3 and made the assumption that God is going to make everything beautiful to me in its time. Unfortunately, I tend to make myself the center of the scriptural narrative quite often. And if I'm not careful, this approach will lead me to a very me-centered interpretation of something that was never ultimately about me at all. I walked through a season of pain many years ago, and you could not have convinced me God even knew about it, much less ordained or could make anything useful from it. It was one of those, is any of this God stuff that I've believed for so long even real kind of seasons. I bristled at the God knows what he's doing platitudes and dismissed the too blessed to be stressed coffee mugs at Cracker Barrel with palpable contempt. If God was so adept at this beauty from ashes stuff, where was my beauty? But nowhere in Scripture am I assured that I will come to view the mournful, broken down, painful, grief-filled seasons of my life as all beautiful on this side of eternity. Instead, I'm simply assured that he'll make them that way to him in its time. In the same way that his thoughts are not my thoughts and his ways are not my ways, his beauty is not my beauty. His timing is not my timing, and his perspective isn't mine. I can't see the end from the beginning, but oh, how I wish I could. I can't fathom how he can take the broken fragments of my story and create a glorious light refracting mosaic. I can't always see the ways I've been shaped more into the likeness of Jesus through the pain than the gain. I can't see what he sees. He can find pleasure and beauty in what I've already discarded as worthless because he sees its true value and what it's capable of bringing about in my life and in my sanctification. Sure, on many fronts, Jesus and I are united in our beauty definitions. An ocean sunset, bathing the sky in purple and orange hues, the perfection of a newborn baby. Watching a sweet saint slip from this life into the next in peaceful sleep after a race well run, these are all beautiful. But so is your pain and mine. So is your hurt and brokenness. So is my disappointment, my loss, my grief, my longing. Why? Because in the hands of the master gardener, all that pruning and cutting away, the weeding and the tearing, the discipline, the wounding, it has its time. It has a work to do, and it's a beautiful work, even if only to the gardener at some points. Sometimes in his mercy, he lets us see it as beautiful too. We don't always get the 360-degree moment, the, oh, now it all makes sense epiphany. But sometimes, even when we can come to see the bad, we can see it as beautiful too. The real test for you and for me is whether we'll trust him. Will we embrace true faith and trust him for beauty where all our human eyes see is a pile of ashes? Will we believe him for all he's capable of long after everyone else has bailed? Will we accept everything as from him and believe him for the beauty in it? These are the crossroads of the soul. Now, I love words, and it's important to me to look up words and discover what they mean, but more importantly, what was originally intended by them. So I looked up this word season. I looked it up first in Webster's dictionary because I speak English, and then in both Hebrew and Greek because those are the languages these scriptures are translated from. Now, Webster defines a season as each of the 4 divisions of the year, which you could probably guess: winter, spring, summer, and fall. It also defines a season as a fixed time when a particular sport is played, which I really like as a college football fan. But that third definition of seasons is a proper or suitable time. And fortunately, in this case, the English, the Hebrew, and the Greek all agree on this definition of season as used in this passage. Ecclesiastes 3 could read, "For everything, there is a proper, suitable time." But it goes on to list seasons for just about everything we can possibly imagine, both positive and negative. So it would seem that in God's economy, there is a suitable time, even for the pain and the loss and the grief that we endure. And it's important that as we're approaching the seasons, the suitable times in our lives through a biblical lens of truth, that we don't get caught in the shifting sand of a cultural approach or one based on our feelings. We have to think rightly about the seasons we find ourselves in, but first, it might help to actually define the seasons. We already know so much about how God has designed seasons to work in nature and in weather. There are countless chances all around us to see the character and ways of God on display in all that he's made. Creation literally tells us about God. For instance, let's just look at the 4 seasons of the year we talked about earlier and the fact that Ecclesiastes 3 says that he has made everything beautiful in its time. So what do those 4 beautiful seasons of the year look like? Well, in spring, we experience beginning and new life, possibilities and potential. It's the time when seeds are planted. And then in summer, there's growth and labor and maturing. It's the time when planted seeds grow and mature, flowering. Then in autumn, it's harvest time. We reap what we've sown. Seeds ripen and they're gathered in. And then in winter, there's closure and withdrawal, rest, death. The ground lies dormant, but there's so much happening beneath the surface. So my question for you is, what season do you feel like you're in? Perhaps in the area of your work, you feel like you're in spring, feeling like everything is new and teeming with possibility. But maybe in your marriage, you're in winter. Scientists actually know so much about how winter soil has been created. There are millions of microorganisms in what would appear to be dead ground to us. But God has made it so that these organisms do their best and most important work in the winter months to prepare the soil for spring. So here are 4 absolutes to remember in any season that we're in. God is sovereign over my season. Nothing touches me in any season that is not first sifted through his hand. Everything in my season can be used for my good and his glory. And God uses my seasons to sanctify me and to make me more like Jesus.